Hi. Growing up as a kid, I looked at my uncles and my father and my grandfathers, and most of them were bald, like me. Yes, I did get irritated by all the straggly hairs that were sticking up and they were too long and stuff, so I just shaved them off because I figured, well, it's better to have that, just mown than to have all these little weird hairs. But I just accepted from a young age that I was going to be bald, and that there was Rogaine, and there was plugs, and there were toupees, and three pays, and and all there would be other stuff that would come along to help bald men, but I just didn't really care, because I realized it was my family's tendency, and I didn't need to worry about it, so I didn't, and I still don't. I've had people tease me about it, and I'm like, yeah, what's your point? You know, Here's the thing. I grew up with tons of hair. I mean, it was like, it was big. I mean, not like an afro big, but it was big, and I got teased about it. Anyways, that problem of baldness has never ever been an issue for me, but being teased about having big hair was a problem. I actually had a lot of nicknames because of my hair being so just like very full, very robust. I was like, I went to a salon once, and the salon person who was doing my hair, she always made me very sleepy because she was just doing this kind of caressing as she was working on my hair, and I'd be like, oh, sorry. But one time she said, you have really great hair. It's really, really, nice to work with and stuff. I was like, oh, cool, thank you. But the teasing, the insults because of the amount of hair I had, and even I remember one time I was in class in high school with a guy who was in my class who we were kind of friends, not really close friends, and we were in math class, and we were supposed to measure each other's skull size, and he was like, "Oh, your head is big," and I don't know how much of that was because of the hair and how much it was because of my skull size, but I do know that I have a larger skull size than I like. It makes it hard to find a hat that'll fit sometimes. I remember one time when I was in Indonesia. No, I won't tell you that story. It's not relevant. Really, this video is about mental health. And for those of you who don't know, I have struggled with mental health issues for most of my life. I have had people say, like for example, I had since my teens, I've had problems with depression. The last time I had problems with depression was in 2018. Was it 2019? The end of 2018 and into part of 2019, I've been working a job that the termination of my relationship with my employer, who was also kind of a friend, got really messy and ugly, and the person did some bad things, and it just kind of pushed me into some depression. I had to get on medication for that. I was on SSRI, and then I spent like 5-6 months trying to get a job, remote work, doing customer service and tech support, and I couldn't get anything other than the scammers and the people who wanted me to pay them to work for them. And so I was like, it was really a problem. But this problem started back in my teens, as I said, but it isn't the only problem that I've had to face. No, I'm not going to say I had DID, which is, MP, it used to be called MPD, or multiple personality disorder. I haven't had behavioral, like major behavioral disorders like that. No psychopathy or anything like that. I'm not autistic, anything like that. But when it comes to interpersonal skills, I'm not the best. I have had some problems with paranoia. I used to have problems with, and to a small degree still do, social anxiety disorder. Um, and I've had a couple other things, some of it which was probably just to do with puberty, because it stopped after puberty, so I'm not going to really mention that. But, the social anxiety really kicked in when I hit puberty. Um, but I also have a problem with being too honest, which gets me into trouble, and also, yeah. So I've had some issues, and I actually, as a sufferer of depression, when I was in university, I actually had a professor say to me that I don't believe in depression. I don't think it's real. Well, it's easy for you to say it if you've never experienced it, but it is real, and paranoia is real. And these other things that people are talking about, it's real. Whether they have it or not, no, I can't say. I can't say if somebody really is suffering from what they say they're suffering from. That would be for a psychologist to analyze and then discuss privately with the patient. Sorry, I had some chips, and the salt is making my mouth feel. And then I had some ginger snaps, which probably didn't help either. I can be a bit OCD at times, and I got some. I've got a variety of mild things, I guess. But I remember when I was young, my dad. One time I told him that I was having problems with depression, and he didn't really understand. It wasn't that he was like negative about it or unsupportive. I mean, he did help me some, but he just couldn't relate because he had never ever been depressed in his life, and then or even seriously sad for any significant length of time. He just experienced regular sadness that other people experience, other than me. Then one day, years later, he was having a problem, and he was depressed for 3 days. And then he contacted me and he apologized to me. He said, now I understand. When you haven't gone through it, it is really hard for you to relate to that person. Sometimes even if you have your own mental health issues, it's hard for you to relate to other people with a different kind of mental health issue. Like Salem Tovar, she's come forward and said that she has DID and body dysmorphia. I know something about DID. I know far less about body dysmorphia. But because I've suffered enough through my life with mental health issues, I can sympathize or empathize with her, and I can empathize with other people. But it's very frustrating when people minimize the struggle you go through. Like when I was younger and I was struggling with paranoia, it was hard. It was hard for me to realize even that I was experiencing paranoia, and what I thought was the problem wasn't really the problem. It was all up in here, and I was just overreacting to it. Now, I'm talking about myself, so I could use the word overreacting because that's exactly what paranoia is. You're overreacting or incorrectly reacting to a situation. But as soon as I realized, oh, this is not a normal reaction, this is not what's really happening, chill, just let it go. And the last time I had paranoia was in 2017 after, and there was a reason for it. So in 2017, my wife died of cancer and hypoglycemia. And for 1 to 2 years prior to that, unbeknownst to me, and until after my wife's death, my mother-in-law and certain other family members were involved in trying to get my wife to divorce me. And this as far as I know, and I don't actually know for sure, so I can only speculate based on what I have heard and what I have been told. This was due to religious and cultural differences, because I wasn't a Muslim and my wife was a Muslim, although she wasn't really much of a practicing Muslim at all. She very rarely, if ever, went to the mosque or covered up like a Muslim is expected to. But after my wife died, her family started openly persecuting me. I had a lot of things that I had to get done within the 30 days after her death, including her death certificate and being recognized by the court as my children's legal guardian, and in control of handling their affairs for them until they reach the age of majority, which in Indonesia is 17. So that led to the rise of legitimate paranoia because they were trying to get me deported. They were trying to get me blackballed. They were going to different government departments lying about me, and they were trying to take my children away from me, basically. So there was justifiable paranoia there. And then when I moved to the United States and I was living with a friend and his wife, and they were trying to help. Because I was still traumatized by what had happened overseas with my wife's family, I was having paranoid reactions to what they were doing, and I had to literally just say, "Hey, they're not Ita's family, Ita, my wife. They're not Ita's family. They're not trying to take your kids away from you. They're just trying to help you. So just relax, let it go. It's going to be okay." I was told a couple of months ago, I was talking about some of my mental health challenges with a woman who I was working with, and I was describing how I have worked through a lot of them. I've conquered 4 phobias, I've subdued my paranoia, my social anxiety, and I've done pretty well. Overall, and a large part of that was due primarily to my own efforts. As far as the phobias and the social anxiety and the paranoia is concerned, none of that was with the help of a mental health professional. I just did my own research, I introspected, and I worked on it myself. And she told me that was very unusual, and I was surprised. She has a background in psychology and communications and some other stuff, but she's also a pastor. And she explained that most people don't have the ability to rise above their mental illness and work to get rid of it. And, admittedly, my depression comes and goes, depending on the situation. If it gets bad enough, then, it can crop up. I mean, I don't have it right now. Sometimes I get sad because I think about my wife, like yesterday, or my mom, who's got dementia in a nursing home. I was crying because I just talked to a lawyer about trying to help my mom, whose situation is less than ideal. And afterwards, I was just feeling frustrated, so I cried a little bit. But no depression. It's sad for me to know that a lot of people out there have mental health issues. And I can understand, like with the psychoses, how hard it must be to be able to overcome a psychosis, or even some of the stronger neuroses. But it saddens me that there is a shortage of mental health professionals. There is a shortage of, there are a lot of people who can't afford to get mental health support. And the pandemic has caused a great increase. Well, not the pandemic, but the decisions made by politicians and health experts has resulted in a lot more mental health issues, a lot more abuse, a lot more divorce, a lot more addiction, and so on and so forth. And it really just saddens me that most people do not have, according to my coworker, do not have the ability to research and to introspect and to rise above and conquer even their psychological maladies. But I want you to understand, if you're somebody who you don't feel like you have a psychological issue. You don't have any mental health problems. And maybe you don't, or maybe you do and you just aren't aware of it, or you do have it. You need to understand that mental health issues are real. They come about for a variety of reasons. Some of them are something that runs in the family, like the social anxiety. It runs in my family. I mean, my mom's got it, my daughter's got it, my niece has got it, and other family members. I have it, so it runs in the family. And others tend to be created as a result of the environment that you're in. So you may develop paranoia if you're in a long-term negative, stressful situation where people are persecuting you, legitimately persecuting you, not you imagining it. And if you are abused as a baby, as a child, you can develop borderline personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder, and other major personality disorders, including what's commonly called psychopathy, but is not technically called psychopathy, which I believe is borderline personality disorder. I forget. But anyways, please recognize that mental health issues happen for a variety of reasons throughout our lives, especially in the formative years. They can start, and that these people aren't monsters. We're not horrible human beings. And the ones who are horrible human beings, generally they're horrible human beings because of something horrible that happened to them. So the majority of the psychopaths out there didn't start out as a psychopath. They became a psychopath because of one or maybe two different factors, primarily abuse, and you're far more likely to become a psychopath if you have a certain genetic trait. And you're far less likely to become a psychopath in the same circumstances if you don't have that trait. But these people generally are not born this way, and people who suffer from mental health issues need help. They need support. They need understanding. That doesn't mean you should enable them. Like, you shouldn't make excuses all the time for them, like, oh, he beat me again. But, that's just because I made a mistake. He beat me again because I was late in 5 minutes in giving him his dinner. That is enabling, because that sort of behavior is not acceptable, okay? In that situation, that's definitely something that has to be addressed, and you may need to move on, get away from that person, and hopefully that person isn't a stalker who's going to come and try to kill you. If you are somebody with mental health, I strongly encourage you, if you have the mental capacity to do it, research and learn, and either on your own or with the support of people who care about you and will be kind and helpful and somewhat critical, but not toxic as you work through your mental health issues. If you feel you do not have the ability to do that, or you've tried and you're not being successful after years of trying, I would encourage you definitely to seek out help from a counselor, a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist. Keeping in mind that a psychiatrist differs from a psychologist in that a psychiatrist is also a doctor as well as a psychologist, so can prescribe medications that you might need because of your mental illness, whereas a psychologist would have to refer you to a psychiatrist to do that. I don't have all the answers to all the questions that you might have, because I'm not an expert. Yes, I've figured out how to fix those problems. Yes, I figured out how to do hypnosis. Yes, I've taught myself how to fall asleep quickly, but I don't have all the answers. Still, if you would like to ask a question and you don't mind that I may not have the answer for you, and you're willing to research it yourself after you get my answer, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll try to do what I can to help. Just try to take good care of yourself and be kind to each other. Let's work on making this world a better place, with or without a pandemic. And let's work on being inclusive and stop hating on each other because of politicians and petty differences. It really has saddened me to see the direction that our nation and the world seems to have taken. But especially in the U.S., it seems like there's a lot of people who become very, very negative, and we don't need that. We don't need that kind of behavior. And I know some of that's driven by mental health. So let's see if we can't turn America around and make it great. It has nothing to do with Trump or Obama or anybody else. It's up to us to make America great. Because if we leave it up to the politicians to make all the laws and all the decisions, well, a lot of them are in the pocket of very rich people and very large, powerful industries, or at least influenced by them. So it's really up to us to turn America into something that we can all be proud of in an inclusive and caring way. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.